Honorable Tobiko. And you don't have to be worried. Your time is well set out. I could see you are a bit anxious, thinking that you're already consuming it. Proceed.
Okay, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to participate in this historic moment, Mr. Speaker, because this is a very important time in our country, in the history of constitutional making in our country, and Mr. Speaker, a very important time in our being members of the August House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because of the limited time, I want to go into 3 issues only, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have had the advantage of listening to members, those who have spoken before us, and I have listened keenly, Mr. Speaker. And I have come to the conclusion, Mr. Speaker, that the Parliament or the August House is a very interesting composition. This is where Kenya is. This is where you see the face of Kenya at different levels. Kenyans who come from regions that are developed, Kenyans who come from regions that have been treated unjustly in terms of development, Kenyans who have suffered under historical injustices, Mr. Speaker. And so, when you hear different views, Mr. Speaker, it is because of the inequality that has been there in the country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would say, because I was a student of politics, and in politics, Mr. Speaker, in my class of politics, I was told the definition of politics is, the allocation of scarce resources. I was also told, Mr. Speaker, politics is what determines who gets what, when, and how, Mr. Speaker. The various arguments I have had on this floor, Mr. Speaker, are people who are worried about the ombudsman, people who are worried about the judiciary, people who are worried about, various issues. But I will say for my county, Mr. Speaker, our worry is the resources. Our worry is our basic needs. Our worry is our infrastructure that is still wanting, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that is where I speak from. When I hear the member of Kandara speaking, Mr. Speaker, about the judiciary, my people are worried about the resources that will come to our county. And so, Mr. Speaker, when I am told the Constitution of Kenya will guarantee Kajiado County 35%, Mr. Speaker, who in this chamber can tell me to say no to the BBI, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, when I am told that the Constitution will give a tax relief to our young people who are starting businesses, and there is unemployment facing our people, Mr. Speaker, who will in this chamber tell me to say no to the BBI, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, there is the Maslow theory of hierarchy of needs. There are those people who have reached another level, Mr. Speaker, and they are worried about democracy, and they are worried about institutions like the judiciary. Mr. Speaker, some of us are worried about what our counties will get because we have never received our fair share at the national level, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I would say Kajiado County, out of this BBI process, will receive an additional 3 constituencies, Mr. Speaker. That means an additional 300 million for Kajiado, Mr. Speaker. That means my constituency, which is both rural and urban, and which has different needs and different priorities, we will be able to organize the place better because the urban constituency will receive their constituency, the rural will receive their constituency and be able to address their needs in different ways, Mr. Speaker, according to their priorities. Mr. Speaker, this is not about Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, or about Raila Amolo Odinga. Mr. Speaker, I have heard people say this is not a popular initiative. But we have had a chance to interact with this document We've had a chance to interact with the task force, even at our counties, Mr. Speaker. I have led my people to present views to the task force. I have also been part of a delegation of women that went to the task force at KICC to present our views, Mr. Speaker. And from here, Mr. Speaker, this document will go to the public, will go to Mwananchi, so that they give their views, they vote, Mr. Speaker, either to endorse it or not to endorse it, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I would say, this is not about the two people who shook their hands. It is about Kenyans, and Kenyans will make their decision, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, I have heard people from different regions who are worried about, positions. Who takes prime minister, who takes a president, who takes a deputy, who takes leader of opposition. But, Mr. Speaker, for some of us from other regions in this country, Mr. Speaker, we have never had that kind of chance. It will be a privilege. And, Mr. Speaker, as the big communities fight for those positions, there are those Kenyans who are only fighting for basic needs. We need water. We need roads.
Your time is over, so we go to the member for Emurua Dikir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for also having this opportunity. I want to state, Mr. Speaker, that I rise today on this 6th day of May, 2021, Mr. Speaker, to join my colleagues, my friends, and the people of this republic in voicing my concerns and also my opinion, and also putting